It is Tuesday YouTube, which means another vendor reset. Let's get straight into it, starting with our main vendor. I like going through this with you guys because I personally don't look through any of this before I start recording. We start off with the Chain Killer. Name chest piece, max weapon damage, pretty cool. Regular attributes are okay. Comes with our talent perfect headhunter. After killing an enemy with a headshot, your next weapon hit within 30 seconds deals an additional 150% of that killing blow's damage. Damage is capped to 800% of your weapon damage. This is raised to 1250% if your headshot damage is greater than 150%. So this is something you're probably going to be rocking on a marksman build or rifle build. You could probably use this on an AR build, but being that it's more headed toward headshot damage, you probably wouldn't use this on an AR just because you want some crit chance, crit damage, all that good stuff. But this is still not a bad purchase. Not a bad purchase if you want to make some sort of build around this talent, or you just find the talent useful for a current build that you have. Definitely not a bad buy. Second up, we have our enhanced PP19 SMG. Some okay cores, some okay regular attribute. Comes with our talent Vindictive. Next up, our assault rifle G36C. Again, some okay cores, regular attributes okay. Comes with our talent Thunderstrike. Next up, we have our X45 tactical pistol. Attributes are okay with our talent Eyeless. We have our Badger Tough backpack with max armor, and that headshot damage is actually pretty high. This comes with our talent Vigilance. Increased total weapon damage by 25%. Taking damage disables this buff for 4 seconds. This probably works with this chest piece. The headshot damage is pretty high. Your core attribute is max. You probably switch out that crit damage to a max crit damage or even a crit chance if you kind of need to bring that up. You can work that attribute however your build needs it. This is definitely a decent buy here. I would actually consider getting something like this. Next up, we have the Fenris Group chest piece. Some okay attributes. I feel like the regular attributes don't really match the brand set or the core like that. Again, with an okay talent, wouldn't purchase this. Move over to our mods. We have some headshot damage, duration on our drone, burn damage on our turret, and some damage on our sticky. Cool. So now we'll move on to our countdown vendor. Thank you. Now we got our countdown vendor. Let's see what we get. We get our assault rifle burnout. They're like midway, 3/4 of the way on their core attributes. Not too bad. Maybe I would say 2, possibly 3, going up on that optimization. So I'm not sure if I would purchase this, but it does come with the best attribute you can probably get on your weapons, which is damage to targets out of cover. Very good. That again, they're all lined up, so you probably will spend a little bit to max this one out, which you could probably just farm some countdown and get a max version of this. But this comes with our talent perfectly on empty. Reloading from empty grants plus 40% weapon handling for 10 seconds. I feel like that talent would have worked better on an LMG, being that reloading from empty takes a longer amount of time, and LMGs do have they're harder to handle, I guess, for lack of a better term. So I'm not sure if I would purchase this. I think if you was to just run some countdown, you'd probably find a better version. But next up, we have our electric named backpack, the Lavos here. Did I pronounce it correctly? Let me know. But here we have our brand set, status effect, shock resistance, SMG damage, our core is some skill tier. And then our attributes are crit damage and health. I would probably swap out that health. That crit damage isn't too bad. It's pretty high up there. Maybe 2 or 3 optimization cycles to max it. But you can just max out the next attribute, replace the health. This comes with our talent perfect galvanize. Applying a blind, ensnare, confuse, or shock to an enemy grants 50% of your armor as bonus armor to you and all allies within 30 meters of that enemy for 10 seconds. Obviously, great if you're running a support build. And obviously, if you're running, let's say, a St. Elmo's engine, this will probably pair extremely well. I would probably consider purchasing this. I'm going to run some countdown later. Probably buy this later. Next up, we have our Point Man chest piece, which brand set, you have your total armor, health, armor regen, But your core attributes pretty low. It's barely above half. And your regular attributes, I don't think would really fit this piece just because of your talent. Deploying a shield makes it invulnerable with talent's perfect vanguard. Deploying a shield makes it vulnerable for 5 seconds and grants 50% of your armor as bonus armor to all other allies for 20 seconds. It's a nice talent. It's a great talent for support. It's just those regular attributes I feel like don't really... I can't picture a build where those attributes would kind of work. But that's what we have here, and now we move on to our clan vendor. Alrighty, we're at the clan vendor. Let's see what we get. We get the mop. The mop is a named weapon, but it's not a named weapon that comes with an exclusive talent, but it comes with an exclusive attribute, which is, as you can see, armor on kill, perfectly maxed out. The core attributes aren't too bad. You could probably max out one of them. I would probably max out the damage to armor. Not even. I'll probably max out the shotgun damage. It'll cost a lot less, most likely, to bring up and max out that damage to armor, which isn't too bad. But this comes with our talent Pummel. 3 consecutive kills refills the magazine and grants plus 40% weapon damage for 10 seconds. Not too bad of a talent. I would probably replace that talent for the shotgun. You would have to optimize the cores, but if you're just a starting out player, you have the currency. Why not? If you want to bring up that proficiency on the map, go for it. Next up, we have our gear sets. The first one being our True Patriot gloves. Just read through True Patriot. It's a lot to read through. I don't want to make this a 45-minute video, but this is actually a very, very good one. I might actually purchase this because it's something I'm working on with True Patriot. But this gives you almost maxed out headshot damage with your core being armor. It's probably, I would say, 3/4 of the way. And I think I said maxed out headshot damage. That's not what I meant. It's almost maxed out. 1 or 2 optimizations, you'll have that maxed out. So this isn't too bad. Next up, we have our hardwired holster. I've never rocked any build with hardwired, so I can't really give my opinion on how good it is. I don't really do repair skills or anything like that. But if this is something you want to test out, we have 2 pieces right here ready to go. The good thing is the core, you don't really need to change unless you want to run a bit of a heavier hit build and you want that to be weapon damage or something. But you can just swap out those attributes to max versions of either, and you're probably starting off pretty good on your hardwired build. Next up, we have our PDR assault rifle. Max assault rifle damage. The health damage is just barely over half. Damage to armor is pretty good. It's high up there. And comes with our talent Ranger, which isn't too bad. Amplifies weapon damage by 2% for every 5 meters you're away from a target. That's probably more ideal for a marksman rifle or a regular rifle, so I don't know if that would really work too well. I personally wouldn't really purchase this. Next up, tactical UMP. Max damage to armor, really good if you need that in your library. It's not bad at all, especially if you don't have a max damage to targets out of cover. It's always a good replacement. Your core attributes are okay. They're not high up there, they're barely over half, but that damage to armor helps. And this comes with our talent Vindictive. Killing an enemy with the status effect applied grants you and all allies within 15 meters 15% critical hit chance and 15% critical hit damage for 20 seconds. Isn't too bad. It works with SMG, but you would need to be running something that gives you a status effect, which this weapon obviously doesn't give. It's not like the St. Elmo's where your ammo can become special ammo, so not sure how this SMG would work. We have our MP5 ST. Again, some okay core attributes. That main attribute is pretty bad. Swap that out if you're considering this purchase. But a lot of these regular weapons here, you can just run some Summit or some Countdown and 100% get better versions. So I'm not sure if I would really purchase any of these aside from buying those maxed attributes or those talents you don't have in your library and just putting them in your library. The same can be said right here. Tactical Harris holster. It's actually pretty good. Your brand set comes with weapon damage, damage to armor, damage to health. Your core is almost maxed. Your crit damage is barely over halfway, but if you can swap out that skill haste and get that to a maxed out, let's say crit chance, you have a pretty decent holster here. We have our Golden Gear limited backpack. It's one of those things where I don't feel like any of the attributes really fit or match with what the gear set does, so I wouldn't even consider this one. Our waving Wyvern Wear holster. This is something where you see the attributes somewhat fit, or they fit the gear set really well. Just swap out that armor regen. But like I said, you could probably find a better version grinding, so don't waste the tokens. We have some crit chance here, which is actually pretty good. Crit damage, pretty good here. Cone size on your remote pulse, and an extra cluster mine. Cool, so that's everything here in Washington, D.C. Now we're going to move over toward the campus. Alrighty, we're at the campus. See what we get. We get our Night Watch Skillguard name mask, which, as you can see, comes with plus 100% scanner pulse haste. So I kind of assume that means you'll just get it almost instantly, which is not bad, but I'm not really a big pulse person unless I'm running unless I'm playing Dark Zone. But you have your core attribute armor, which is barely over half. That health attribute you would probably swap out. I'm not sure if I would purchase this, to be quite honest. You could probably find a better version on the grind. And we have our Model 700 marksman rifle. Everything is just a bit more over halfway. Headshot and damage to armor isn't too bad, but this comes with a talent in sync. Again, this probably wouldn't work unless you're running skills that do damage, which if you're running a marksman rifle, you probably want a talent that'll complement a marksman rifle. Next up, we have our military RPK-74M, some okay attributes. Your LMG damage is almost max. Your damage to target out of cover is a little less than 3/4 of the way, I would say. Your headshot damage is pretty high. Comes with our talent Sadist. Again, you'd have to be making these people bleed, some type of status effect, so I'm not sure if I would really use this unless I'm trying to make a build focus on bleed damage. We have another Wyvern mask. Again, it's just okay. Even if you swapped out that weapon handling, you would still have just an okay mask. Our Richer and Kaiser holster. Another one where incoming repairs, but then the attributes are headshot damage and skill damage. So it's like, where does this kind of work, you know? I wouldn't really rock this holster. We have our mods, some skill haste, which isn't too bad. I've only recently gotten mods like skill haste mods that are better than this, so I understand if you buy this, it is a bit hard to get some decent mods here. Skill haste again, and some duration on your sharp drop. Cool. Next up, we move toward the theater. The theater, here we are. Fox's Prayer. Damage to target out of cover, maxed out. Weapon damage, just barely over half. And skill haste, you would 100% be swapping out on this. And then you have your brand sets, rifle damage, accuracy, weapon handling. Not a bad one, but you can probably find one with at least a maxed core with your attribute that comes with this named item. So you would just re-roll that third one and then have a god roll. So I wouldn't really purchase this, although if you just want to bring up that proficiency while you find one, why not? Go ahead. Next up, we have our double barrel shotgun. Again, everything just barely over half. See, the issue with these items that are barely over half is it costs a lot more than you think to optimize them. So a lot of times it really isn't worth it unless you have like one max with one almost max or two almost. Like, you have to have something where it'll just cost you as little as possible to max it out. Not a weapon I would choose, especially with that talent. Next up, we have our USC .45 rifle. This comes with our max rifle damage, good for your library. The other core is barely over half. Your attribute damage targets out of cover, barely over half. With our talent strained, I mean, it's not too bad, the talent, but then with the weapon, but then again, those attributes are extremely low, and being that it's not even a named item, probably wouldn't even worth the purchase. Again, Fenrir Group gloves. The weapon damage isn't too bad, but that crit damage and the headshot damage is really low. You would end up maxing one of them out and spending a ton on maxing the other two, so not really too worth it. Then we have our Alps Armament knee pads, some skill tier, some status effects, some crit damage. Wow, it seems like the Fox's Prayer is probably the only decent one out of this vendor. It's probably worth purchasing. Over to our mods, some incoming repairs, some radius on our mine, some damage bonus on our shield, some speed on our Firefly, and some duration on our decoy. Alright, now hopefully hopefully, the vendor's working this week. We move on toward the castle. Crazy. We are here at our vendor. Here we go. Another Killer Guard Night Watch. You see, this one's even worse than the last one. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Model 700. I'm not gonna lie, this almost looks like this is mimicking the last vendor we were at, or at least this is like a little bit from every vendor we just went to, because this looks very familiar. Model 700, even worse than the last one we saw. Our classic RPK 74. Damage to armor and damage to targets auto cover. That's pretty good. That must be a hard hitter. And headshots, the talent reformation. Headshots grant plus 30% skill repair. But maybe swap out that talent. But then again, to optimize all this, it'll cost a lot. Next up, we have a Petrov Defense Group mask. Again, look at the attributes. Look at what the brand set is supposed to do. The brand set bonuses. Attributes are pretty high and pretty good. They just don't match what the brand set should ideally be doing. So I probably wouldn't purchase this one. And we have our Badger Tough holster with max crit damage. Add that to the library if you don't have it, because I can guarantee you're going to be using that a lot. So definitely purchase this to get that out in the library and just get it out the way instead of having to grind for it. If you have the currency, why not? Spend less time and you can just grind for other things. But aside from adding that to the library, what's really worth it? You know, maybe swap out that explosive resistance, but now you're stuck with a core that's literally just pretty much at halfway. You'd have to spend a lot optimizing that. So for library, yes. To wear and use, probably not. And we have our repair skills. We have our healing on our sticky, our duration on our hive, effect duration on our pulse, and duration on our trap. Cool. Now we start working on our Dark Zone, starting with Dark Zone West. We're here, Dark Zone West. This is where it gets exciting. Let's see what we get. Ooh, we get our shotgun, the Culebre, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But our cores are pretty low. Our main attributes pretty low. And this comes with our talent Perfect Jazz Hands, plus 30% reload speed. Definitely find a better one, especially using Dark Zone credits, which aren't as easy to get as all the other resources. As you can see, I have one. I barely play Dark Zone. But yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure about this one. We have our military M870. Again, I feel like these Dark Zone vendors should have a better gear. Kind of push people to play Dark Zone a little more, you know, because these you see here, again, barely half. Talent Fast Hands is okay, nothing too crazy. Next up, our rifle. Again, I feel like these things are a little worse than the main vendors, and you have to do more for these resources. Might not be worth it. Heartbreaker, it's terrible. My goodness. Hotshot knee pads are okay. But then again, how many people are running a hotshot build, and you can just grind this gear on the summer countdown and probably within a couple runs get really good pieces. We have Richard and Kaiser gloves. Again, attributes probably don't really match too well with what the gear set does. Uzina Getika knee pads. This somewhat fits the attributes, somewhat fit the gear set, but then again, everything is so low. Like I've been saying, optimization will cost a lot to max this out. Now we're on to our mods. Incoming repairs, radius on our mine, deflect damage on our shield, damage on our firefly, and duration on our decoy. Alright, but that's it. Now we're going to move on to Dark Zone South. Here we are, Dark Zone South. Boom, boom, boom. Strategic Alignment Backpack, our name backpack, which comes with our talent Perfect Shock and Awe. Applying a status effect to an enemy increases total skill damage and repair by 20% for 27 seconds. You see, that's not too bad. That isn't too bad at all. The only thing is, it's a bit weird, that talent with the skill set. That explosive damage in the beginning throws me off a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe if you're running the mortar, it would probably be okay, but I mean, how many people are running the mortar? You know what I mean? But hey, if you want to test it out, maybe you can get yourself a really strong build using the mortar and just eliminate everything within seconds. So if you have one like that, let me know. Comment down below. I would like to know about a mortar build. Next up, we have a tactical UMP 45. Okay, attributes. This comes with our talent preservation. Killing an enemy repairs 10% of armor over 5 seconds. Headshot kills improve the repair by an additional 10%. It isn't too bad, but then again, like I said, if it's not a named item, it probably isn't worth it because you can just find it in the open world. We have our honey badger, which isn't a name item, oddly enough, even though it has a name. This one has always been kind of confusing to me, and it's even, I've never used it in this proficient. That's how often I find it. Just throw it into the expertise. But this isn't too bad, excuse me. This isn't too bad. Then again, your attributes are pretty low. Like I've been saying, optimization will cost a lot. Another weapon which has a name, but it isn't a named item. I know, a bit weird. But really okay attributes and a talent steady-handed. Probably not. We have our hot shot. Now we have gear sets, right? Hot shot backpack, which are okay. Again, all this you can find at the grind. Tip of the spear. I don't think I've ever seen anyone run tip of the spear. If you have a tip of the spear build, comment down below. Link me something. I would like to make one. I would like to see if it's actually really worth it. I've never seen anyone really rocking this gear set right here. And we have our China Light Industries backpack with our brand set, and our attributes are a little weird. This comes with our talent Unstoppable Force. Again, something where the combination of brand set, attribute, talents just doesn't match. It will require a lot of work. Not worth the purchase. We have our Fenris Group chest piece, which is probably the first decent one we've seen on our Dark Zone stuff so far. With our gear set kind of matching our attributes, we swap out that repair skill. But then again, now you're stuck with that talent. So it's like, which one do you use, you know? Which, not a good purchase. I would wait till I either have the talent I need or the attributes I need instead of purchasing this. And we have our mods, headshot damage, duration, damage on our that, and damage on this. Okay, well, now we move on to Dark Zone East. Alrighty, we're at Dark Zone East with our Commando Marksman Rifle. Starting off, our core attributes are pretty low. Our main attributes not too bad. It isn't too bad. You could probably max out one of those cores, but then it's like, unless you're an abundance of optimization materials, not sure if it'd be worth it. But this comes with the talent Perfectly Naked. Hitting an enemy with no armor grants plus 50% headshot damage for 8 seconds. It's pretty good. But then again, if you have this build strong enough, you're probably still killing an enemy that has no armor with one shot anyway. So I can't picture, maybe your next headshot, you're just hitting a really strong enemy and, you know, a named person or whatever right after with that 50% headshot damage. But 8 seconds, I'm pretty slow. I'm not finding a particular person in 8 seconds. But this isn't a bad buy. This isn't a bad buy. And we have the M700 Carbon. Again, some okay cores, regular attributes, alright. With our talent Eyeless. Not sure if I would purchase this one. They have our I can never IWI, whatever this LMG is. I barely see it on the floor. It makes me wonder if it's just a higher rarity. But you have some... Yeah, I'm not even going to sugarcoat this one. This is definitely not the purchase right here. We have our mask Hardwired. Again, you swap out that core, but why use the resources, you know? We have our True Patriot, which is pretty bad in itself. I wouldn't bother with this one. We have our Bellstone Armory Mask, which finally is something decent in this Dark Zone vendor. That's like, that would make you go out of your way. That max skill damage. I personally took a while to find a max skill damage attribute for, it was 2 different items. I don't remember which 2, but I'm pretty sure it was my gloves and mask. So if you've been grinding and you have the Dark Zone resources and you need this in your library, why not purchase it, dismantle it in the crafting bench. You're good to go. Then we have our Yao Gear holster. Again, not something I feel is really worth it. Hazard protection might help, but look how low all the other attributes are. Why would you bother? We have our mods repair skills, skill haste, Reviver Armor Repair, which probably isn't too bad. I don't see too many of these. Effect duration on our Remote Pulse, and Shock Radius on our Shock Trap. Alright, last but not least, we move on to New York. Alrighty, here we are, New York. We start off with our SIG 556, max health damage, and aside from that, wow, those attributes are horrendous. With your talent Future Perfect, this is definitely only purchasable if you want to throw that health damage in your library. Wow, that's actually really bad. Yeah, wouldn't really purchase this one aside from library stuff. Now we have our Black Market RPK, some bad attributes. The talent is alright. And then we have our 1886 rifle, some decent attributes. They're a bit up there. Maybe you could bring up that crit damage to max it out, or even swap out that regular attribute for damage to targets out of cover, but then you're going to spend a lot optimizing that crit damage. So I'll probably just swap out that crit damage, and it's okay. You're not spending as much to max this out. Comes with our talent Optimus. Weapon damage is increased by 3% for every 10% ammo missing from the magazine. Isn't too bad. We have our pistol, the tactical 1911, with some okay attributes. It's not too bad. I'll probably just max out that pistol damage, and damage to armor will probably take you 1 or 2 optimization rolls to max it out. And this is really good. It comes with a talent Flatline. Amplifies weapon damage by 15% to pulse enemies. After 3 kills, applies pulse to the next enemy you hit. You're running Heartbreaker. You're running your Kingbreaker. This will probably be complemented really well. Then we have our Arialdi Holdings backpack with a very high weapon damage core. The regular attributes are okay, but this comes with your talent calculated. Kills from cover reduce skill cooldowns by 10%. Not sure if I would purchase this because you're probably swapping out the talent or that hazard protection, and you can't. It has to be one or the other, so wouldn't bother with this one. Our Overload Armaments knee pads. Again, something that's okay. That weapon damage is okay, but then your 2 main attributes are pretty low. It'll take a lot of optimization. I try to go for as little optimization as possible. If I can just grind and get it on countdown, that's what I'll do. I'll only purchase things from here unless they're really, really good and absolutely necessary. Next up, we have our Wyvern Wear mask. Again, attributes are okay. The status effects fits the brand set, but look how low it is. So it's like you would want to max that out, but then do you want that armor regen? You're probably not going to be using armor regen. So it's just, yeah, creates one of those things. I have our mod Skill Haste, our headshot damage, our duration on our drone, our damage on our trap, and our health on our decoy. But it looks like that is it for today. It was not a very epic vendor reset, to be quite honest. This is the first really bad vendor reset I would say personally I've seen in a while. But let me know what you guys think. Is there anything worth purchasing that you would buy here in this new reset? What builds are you running? I want to know. I see I'm getting a lot more people watching, and I want to interact with you guys more. So just comment down below. Give me your opinions on anything Division, even anything Apex. I also post Apex content. But until then, I'll see you all in the comments. See you in the next one.